Hello, hello! Pete's Pax here, and we're back with the Lost Caverns of Ixalan Commander deck, or Commander decks. This is the third one, Blood Rites. Spawn vampire minions, sacrifice to flying demons. And then pray at the altar. So, let's get into this one. This is, of course, vampire themed. Blood, sweat, tears, blood, and blood. Okay. It's kind of an odd one. As with the other commander decks, we have kind of a reduced offering from previous ones. We just get the 6 counters, no extra tokens, no dividers, none of that stuff. We do get the deck, an insert, nice little deck there, and then in our envelope we have our puck box that we fold up with our life wheel, which is unthemed, but the puck box is themed, and our commander boosters sample pack. We'll open those in a separate video. All right, let's fold up our deck box. Nice. Nice theme design. Nice they haven't changed those. Themed life wheel. Keep shifting the mat. We have insert. Which has Cavallino, First of the Blessed. With his super creepy smile. Some ads. A little blurb about him, then a blurb about the deck, alternate art version of him, and an overview of the rules for Commander. So we got that. Now on to the star of the show. Our deck. Pull in some. Adjust our light. And let's get into this. Little quick pull. All right, we have Cavallino, First of the Blessed. So shiny foil one. 1 white-black for a 2/2 legendary vampire cleric. Whenever you attack, target attacking vampire that isn't a demon becomes a demon in addition to its other types. It gains whenever this creature dies. Draw a card and create a tapped 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. Okay. Kind of explains the creepy smile. Then we have Carmen, Cruel Sky Marcher. 3 white-black for a 2/2 legendary vampire soldier with flying. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Carmen, Cruel Skymancer, and you gain, or Sky Marcher, and you gain 1 life. Whenever it attacks, return up to 1 target permanent card with mana value less than or equal to Carmen's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. Ooh. That has some neat things that you could do. And a lot of ways to go infinite with that, actually. So there is a vampire that when you sacrifice, or you can play it from your graveyard if you've gained life this turn. I think it's 1 and a white. That plus a number of sack outlets that produce mana could go infinite with this. Some other things that could too. It's just not coming to mind at the moment. That's very cool. Order of Dusk, 1 and a white for 2/1 vampire soldier. When it dies, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Very nice. Return to Dust, which I don't know why they haven't reprinted this at common yet. It really needs to be done in common for Pauper, because Dust to Dust is up to a ridiculous price at this point. But we have Return to Dust, 2 white instant, exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you may exile up to 1 other target artifact or enchantment. Swords to Plowshares, best removal ever printed. For a white, you have an instant. Exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. Blood Artist, very nice. It's nice to see this get a reprint for Yawgmoth combo in Modern. But 1 and a black for a 0/1 vampire. Whenever it or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Bloodline Necromancer. 4 and a black for a 3/2 vampire wizard with lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target vampire or wizard creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Very nice. So it is a reanimate that's also a body. Well, it's not actually reanimate. It's lets you bring something back and gives you a body at a very good rate. Dusk Legion Zealot. 1 and a black for a 1/1 vampire soldier. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and lose a life. Very nice. Vulcanwrath Noble. 3 and a black for a 2/2 vampire noble with flying. Whenever it or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So very similar to Blood Artist. Zulaport Cutthroat is also in the same kind of family of drainers. Indulgent Aristocrat. For black, you get a 1/1 vampire noble with lifelink. 2, sacrifice a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. This can get out of hand very quickly. Oathsworn Vampire. 1 and a black for a 2/2 vampire knight. Enters the battlefield tapped. You may cast it from your graveyard if you gained life this turn. This is one of the cards I was talking about. So if you have a way of sacrificing this for 1 and a black, you can go infinite with the secondary commander. Village Rites. Black for an instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. Viscera Seer. One of the more famous unbounded sack outlets. But for a black, you get a 1/1 vampire wizard with sacrifice a creature, scry 1. I don't know why I thought that was a 0/1. Bartolome de Presidio. White-black for a 2/1 legendary vampire knight, so this can also be your commander. Sacrifice another creature or artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Very nice. Another unbounded sack outlet, which is very nice. Cruel Celebrant. White-black for a 1/2 vampire with whenever it or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain 1 life. Another drainer that works in this apparent aristocrat strategy. Etchings of the Chosen. 1 white-black enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control the chosen type get +1/+1. 1, sacrifice a creature of the chosen type. Target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Very nice. Legion Lieutenant. White-black for a 2/2 vampire knight. Other vampires you control get +1/+1. 2 mana lord. Very nice. Arcane Signet. 2 mana artifact, taps for your commander's color identity. Commander's Fear. 3 mana artifact, taps for your commander's color identity, and you can sacrifice it to draw a card. Heirloom Blade. 3 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+1. Whenever equipped creature dies, you may reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card that shares a creature type with it. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Equip 1. Mindstone. This is a neat new art for Mindstone, but 2 mana artifact, tap for a colorless. 1, tap and sacrifice it, draw a card. Orzhov Signet. It's the white-black Signet. Soul Ring. I don't know what Soul Ring does by now, but 1 mana artifact, taps for 2 mana. Swiftfoot Boots. 2 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Equip 1. Talisman of Hierarchy. 2 mana artifact. Taps for colorless, taps for a white or black, and deals a damage to you. So keep in mind with the way this is templated, if you've played the One Ring, so you have protection from everything, it actually doesn't deal damage to you, because you have protection from it. because it's not a cost. It's a trigger off of the mana ability. Wayfarer's Bauble, 1 mana artifact. 2, tap and sacrifice it. Search your library for a basic land, put it into the battlefield, tap, and shuffle. A rampant growth on an artifact. Or colorless rampant growth, which is nice. Bojuka Bog, one of the best utility lands ever printed. Comes into play tapped. When it enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard, taps for black. Command Tower, taps for your commander's color identity. Myriad Landscape, enters tapped, taps for colorless, and then 2, tap and sacrifice it. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands that share a land type, put them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So this can get a swamp and a snow-covered swamp, but it can't get a swamp and a plains, for example. So that is why that templating is relevant. Not many people realize that snow-covereds are also basics, so it's a whole thing. Orzhov Basilica, it is the black-white Karu, but enters tapped. When it enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand, taps for white and black. I think you get 2 mana off of it. Charismatic Conqueror, 1 and a white for 2/2 creature vampire soldier. With vigilance, whenever an artifact or creature enters the battlefield untapped and under an opponent's control, they may tap that permanent. If they don't, you create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Huh. Okay, so their stuff can either come in tapped or you can get tokens. That's cool. Elenda's Hierophant, 2 and a white for a 1/1 vampire cleric. Flying, whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Elenda's Hierophant. When it dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink where X is its power. Very nice. March of the Canonized, or Canonized. X white enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink. At the beginning of your upkeep, if your devotion to white and black is 7 or greater, create a 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. That's cool. Redemption Choir, 2 white for a 3/3 vampire cleric with lifelink. Coven, whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, turn target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Nice. Dusk Legion Sergeant, 1 and a black for a 2/2 vampire soldier with menace. 1 and a black, sacrifice it. Each non-token vampire creature you control gains persist until end of turn. When it dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. That's cool. That can go infinite with a lot of things. Like if you have a way of putting a +1/+1 counter on something when it comes in, that should go infinite with an unbounded sack outlet. Master of Dark Rites, black for a 1/1 vampire cleric. Tap, sacrifice another creature, add black. Spend this mana only to cast vampire, cleric, and/or demon spells. Nice. Promise of Akhlazotz, 1 and a black for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, populate. Create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. It also has the adventure side of Foul Rebirth. 2 and a black, sorcery. Sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, create a 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. Very nice. Order of the Sacred Dusk. 6 white and a black for a 5/5 vampire knight with Convoke. Your creatures can help cast a spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for a colorless or 1 mana of that creature's color. So you can technically play this out for free if you have enough creatures. Flying lifelink haste, exalted. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Other vampires you control have exalted. That is nuts. Wow. So that can make one creature go super tall. Including this one, because it does have haste. Like that could get silly very quickly. Austere Command, 4 white, sorcery, choose 2, destroy all artifacts, all enchantments, all creatures with mana value 3 or less, or all creatures with mana value 4 or greater. You choose the last two, it's just a bad Wrath of God. This can be replaced with Farewell pretty functionally, and also hit graveyards. Kindred Boon, 2 white, enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. 1 and a white, put a divinity counter on target creature you control of the chosen type. Each creature you control with the divinity counter on it has indestructible. Very nice. Maverin Fane, Dark Apostle, 2 and a white for 2/2 legendary vampire cleric. Whenever one or more non-token vampires you control attack, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Radiant Destiny, 2 and a white enchantment with Ascend. If you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. As long as you have the city's blessing, they also have vigilance. Very nice. Welcoming Vampire. This is actually legal in standard right now. 2 and a white for 2/3 vampire with flying. Whenever one or more creatures with power 2 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Bloodghast. Ooh, that's a really nice new art. Excuse me. That's really nice new art for this. Black for a 2/1 vampire spirit. It can't block. It has haste as long as an opponent has 10 or less life. And landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Bloodghast from your graveyard to the battlefield. Very nice. Blood Tracker, 3 and a black for a 2/2 vampire wizard with flying. For black and pay 2 life, put a +1/+1 counter on it. When it leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Nice little draw engine there. Butcher of Malakir. You know, Agatha's Soul Cauldron would just naturally fit in this deck, the more I look at this. But Butcher of Malakir, 5 black for a 5/4 vampire warrior with flying. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. So it's Grave Pact stapled onto a 5/4 flyer. Champion of Dusk. This was really popular in a Vampires deck in Standard about 4 or 5 years ago. But 3 black for 4/4 Vampire Knight. When it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of vampires you control. Cordial Vampire. Black for a 1/1 vampire. Whenever it or another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. This, with the unbounded sack outlets that we have, is kind of silly. Crossway Troublemakers, 5 and a black for a 5/5 vampire. Attacking vampires you control have Death Touch and Lifelink. Whenever a vampire you control dies, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. Nice. Also great with the unbounded sack outlets that we have. Damn. Black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature. A creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated. And then overload 2 white. So this is an individual removal spell that you can turn into a Wrath of God when you want to. Very nice. In a lot of ways, just strictly better than vanilla Wrath of God. The only downside is if it has Hexproof or Shroud. No, it still works if they have Hexproof or Shroud. Never mind. Forget it. Drena, Liberator of Malakir. 1 black for a 2/3. Legendary creature vampire ally. This was used in, or this was originally in, was it Battle for Zendikar? I think it was Battle for Zendikar. But flying first strike. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. Nice aggressive card there. Exquisite Blood. Well, it's nice that this got a reprint. 4 and a black enchantment. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Now, if Sanguine Bond, I think it's Sanguine Bond, which is the same thing but in reverse. Those two together just drain out all your opponents. Last Cast Heart. 2 and a black artifact. Whenever one or more vampires you control attack, create a blood token. It's an artifact with 1 tap, discard a card, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. Then it also has the ability black, tap, pay 1 life, create a 1/1 white and black vampire creature token with lifelink. 2, tap, sacrifice Glasscast Heart and 13 blood tokens. Each opponent loses 13 life and you gain 13 life. That's cool. With Exquisite Blood, it's 26. New Blood. 2 black sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, tap an untapped vampire you control. Gain control of target creature. Change the text of that creature by replacing all instances of one creature type with vampire. That could do some nutty stuff. Nighthawk Scavenger. 1 black for a 1+X/3. So it has 3 toughness and its power is 1+X. Vampire Rogue with flying, death touch, and lifelink. This is so many keywords. Its power is equal to 1 plus the number of card types among cards in your opponent's graveyard. So now that we have battles, I think this could be up to a 9/3. I think we have 8 different card types. Off the top of my head, I believe that's right. So you have instant sorcery, creature, land, tribal, planeswalker, battle, enchantment, artifact. Did I say artifact? So it could be up to a 10/3, I think. Yeah. Instant sorcery, artifact, creature, enchantment, tribal, planeswalker, battle. I think I said something twice. It's either 8 or 9. My brain's a little fried at the moment. Olivia's Wrath. 4 and a black. Sorcery. Each non-vampire creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of vampires you control. Oh, that's fun. Pact of the Serpent. 1 black. Sorcery. Choose a creature type. Target player draws X cards and loses X life, where X is the number of creatures they control of the chosen type. This is hilarious against your friendly elf player. When they go wide, you can burn them out. It's also good to use on yourself to draw a bunch of cards. Patron of the Vein. 4 black for a 4/4 vampire shaman with flying. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it and put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. Nice. Sanctum Seeker. 2 black for 3/4 Vampire Knight. Whenever a vampire you control attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Very nice. Timothar, Baron of Bats. 4 black for 4/4 Legendary Vampire Noble with Ward, discard a card. I wonder if this is in standard at the moment. I'm not sure if this was a Commander reprint or actual card reprint. Whenever another non-token vampire you control dies, you may pay 1 and exile it. If you do, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token with flying. It gains when this creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it and return the exiled card to the battlefield tapped. It could be fun. Twilight Prophet. Until recently, this had crept up quite a bit in price. But 2 black for a 2/4 Vampire Cleric with flying and ascend. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the card's mana value. I used to stick this in my 5-color control, and it really irritated a lot of players because they weren't expecting it. Yeheni, Undying Partisan. 2 and a black for 2/2 legendary creature Aetherborn Vampire. With haste, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Yeheni, Undying Partisan. Sacrifice another creature. Yeheni gains indestructible until end of turn. Elenda, the Dusk Rose. 2 white black. Keep in mind this can also be your commander. For a 1/1 legendary creature vampire knight with lifelink. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Elenda, the Dusk Rose. When it dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is Elenda's power. Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. This is the first Planeswalker I've seen in a commander deck in a while. But 2 white black for a 3 loyalty legendary Planeswalker Sorin. +1, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token with lifelink. -2, you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +1/+0. -6, destroy up to 3 target creatures and/or other planeswalkers. Returning each card put into the graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. So, nice one. Nice token strategy kind of thing here. This actually still sees play in Orzhov tokens in Modern every now and then, although Orzhov tokens has largely fallen off in Modern. Then we have Utter End, 2 white black for an instant, exile target non-land permanent. Bona, Butcher of Magan, 3 white black for 4/4 legendary vampire knight. This can also be your commander. Vigilance, lifelink. Tap, pay 7 life, destroy target non-land permanent. Activate only during your turn. So a common play pattern with this card is to attack, and then before blocks, tap and pay 7 life to remove a potential blocker. That was a pretty common play pattern from when this was in Standard. Blade of the Blood Chief, 1 mana artifact equipment. Whenever a creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature. If equipped creature is a vampire, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it instead. This turns your creatures into singular vampires. Equip 1. Ooh, that's something you don't see every day. You have Isolated Chapel. It's one of the, it's not actually a fast land, but it's the black-white buddy land. Shine Shadow Snarl is the white-black reveal land. These were out of this cycle of the Snarl cycle. Was out of Strixhaven. So, Temple of Silence. It's the white-black temple. Comes in tapped. When it enters, you scry 1. Vault of the Archangel. Very nice. I know this had crept up in price for a while. Taps for colorless, and then 2 white-black tap. Creatures you control gain Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. Voldaren Estate. Currently legal in Standard. Tap for a colorless. Tap, pay a life, add 1 mana of any color, spend only to cast a vampire spell. And then 5, tap, create a blood token. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each vampire you control. So if you have 5 vampires, you can just tap this to make blood token. Not that that is especially great, but it is something you can do. Windbrisk Heights. It's one of the hideaway lands. Unfortunately, these things have not retained value. They are really fun, though. This was arguably the second best one. Like in order, it's generally the green one was the best one, then either the white or the blue one, depending on how you want to argue it. And then the black and red one didn't see a whole lot of play. I mean, the red one occasionally saw play in like burn decks, but not as much as you'd think. But Hideaway 4, when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down, then put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Enters the battlefield tapped, taps for a white, and then a white and tap it. You may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if you attacked with 3 or more creatures this turn. It should not be difficult to do, given how many tokens this deck should be creating. Path of Ancestry enters tap, taps for your commander's color identity. When it's spent to cast a creature spell that shares a type with your commander, scry 1. Rogue's Passage, taps for colorless, 4, tap, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Probably one of the first things that should be replaced in this deck. Secluded Courtyard. This is also in standard. This is from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Also used heavily in tribal decks. So very good land. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Taps for colorless. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend it only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type or activate an ability of a creature source of the chosen type. Tainted Field. It's the white-black tainted land. Taps for colorless, and then taps for white or black if you control a swamp. Temple of the False God. Taps for 2, but activate only if you control 5 or more lands. Unclaimed Territory. When it enters, choose a creature type, taps for a colorless, and then you can tap it for 1 mana of any color, spend it only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type. We have our basics. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 planes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 swamps. And we have our etched foil, Cavallino, which is extra thick one. And we have some vampire tokens. We've got white 1/1 lifelink, black one, 2 black ones, another 2 black ones, some bats, blood token, Sorin emblem. That's actually really nice. City's Blessing. Then on the backs we have more of the white vampires, vampire demons with flying, and that's it. Not a lot of types there. This is nice to get the emblem, though. Kind of wish there were 3, though. But, alright. And then a reminder card. Alright. Well, thank you for joining me on this adventure to the Lost Caverns of Ixalan with, is this Blood Rites? I think it was. But yeah, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff for the algorithm. Sorry, my voice is getting a little choppy. And until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.